Hi, Symphony Chorus friends, and happy Monday to you. I'm going a slightly new direction with our video series now that we've finished talking about the Verdi Requiem, which I'm so looking forward to perform with you this fall. We're going to do what I'm calling Josh's pandemic playlists. So for the next 3 weeks, I'm going to give you 3 different playlists of choral music to keep you entertained and hopefully learning something new. I'm picking pieces that are a little bit off the beaten track, something that might just be new and fresh for you to explore. So this week it's 5 a cappella pieces. And the first one is called Biega Luote. This is by the Swedish composer Jan Sandström. And I've loved Nordic music and Swedish music ever since I lived there. I was an exchange student in high school in Sweden for a summer, and I got to love the culture and the people, and especially the choral music. There are some excellent choirs in Sweden, and so they write some great choral music for those groups to perform. And Biega Luote is just one of those pieces. It's really interesting in that it's a Sami melody. So the Sami people are people who live in the far north of Sweden, Norway, and Finland. They are the Lapp people. They live in Lapland. And they are reindeer herders primarily. This is their livelihood. And so they're living in a very ancient way and essentially out of modern society. They have this tradition, musical tradition called the jojk, J-O-J-K, which is a small snippet of melody that is sung across great distances, sometimes to communicate, sometimes to speak to animals, or sometimes to communicate between people. It's usually sung in a very brash way and usually has really limited musical motives, so it's kind of built on little small Lego pieces of melody. This particular one, Jan Sandström has said, Jan Sandström himself is not from this culture. He's a Swedish person from a more populous town. But he came into contact with this culture, became interested, learned this melody that I'll sing for you now. The basic idea is like this. Nadio biega bosso di lo 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 lo. That's the basic tune that goes through a lot of variations. He takes this tiny little tune and then sets against it all kinds of really fascinating rhythms that create a web of sound. But over and all through all of it, you hear that tune all the way going through. Then you'll hear in the middle section 2 times when the herder actually calls out either to his dogs or maybe to the reindeer themselves, and he cries out, zaga, zaga, in these really rough, fascinating chords. Finally, the whole thing winds down to a very quiet ending. It's all accompanied by a drum and just choir with a tenor solo. I love this piece. It's called Biega Luote. It means jojk to the mountain wind. I've provided you with the score and also a listening link to one of our own here in Dallas, Richard Sparks, leading the UNT University Singers in a wonderful performance of Jan Sandström's Biega Luote. Go have a listen, and then on the other side, I'll see you for piece number 2. So I hope you enjoyed that Biega Luote by Jan Sandström. The next piece that I've got for you is also from Scandinavia, but in this case from Norway. And this is a composer named Knut Nystedt. Nystedt was really popular in the United States because of the Lutheran choirs in Minnesota and in Iowa, St. Olaf and groups like that, Concordia, that brought music from Scandinavia over because of their own Scandinavian roots and traditions. And Nystedt's music was made popular by them 60s, 70s, 80s, in the 90s as well. He wrote this piece called O Crux, O Cross, and I've loved this just forever. He wrote it in the late 70s at a time when in Sweden and Norway they were experimenting with new sounds and more avant-garde techniques, and so you hear some of that in this piece, particularly at the beginning. The sopranos sing O Crux, and then O Crux, and this one single note then expands out a half step above, a half step below it, with the original note still sounding, so it begins to make a cluster, almost like buzzing bees, of dissonance. And then it spreads out more, and it spreads eventually into an F minor chord with an extra G in it, and then eventually big romantic chords at the end. So it's really balancing between Scandinavian avant-gardism and romantic sonorities. The text, of course, is beautiful. O crux splendididur cunctis astris, O cross splendid like the stars. There's so much to enjoy here, especially this wonderful choir's ability to float high A's at the end. This is really, really beautiful. So enjoy O Crux by Knut Nystedt. The third piece I have for you today in our a cappella playlist is El Guayaboso by Guido López Gavilán. Gavilán is a Cuban composer who's written a lot of great and really exciting rhythmic music for choirs, and primarily performed by Cuban choirs. But this piece is one that's particularly been embraced abroad and internationally and become really popular. It's a guaguancó, rumba guaguancó, which is a certain dance in Cuba that involves this rhythm. So it's that basic kind of groove. And then he sets it as a salsa piece, essentially, but only for voices, so voices imitating instruments. The text is a little bit silly. It's playful. I'm going to read some of it to you now. I saw dance a danzón on the edge of a knife, a mosquito wearing trousers. I saw a fly dressed in a shirt. What you have to understand is El Guayaboso means the liar, the person who tells lies. And so this is a story about a singer who is fabricating, somebody who loves to tell tall tales. It goes on. I saw a crab plowing, a pig blowing a whistle, and an old growling woman sitting in an armchair. And a skinny little calf die laughing upon seeing a one-eyed goat mending a sandal. Obviously, this is just craziness. And what he does to make sort of the fun of it come out is he sets each voice at the beginning like an instrument. So you hear that rhythm, that guaguancó rhythm in the baritones, and they sing gung 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 gung, and then the bass is gung 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 gung, another independent rhythm line, and then you hear the tenors. Each of these rhythms is layered one on top of the other to create this really fun groove of salsa music from Cuba. In the middle of it, you'll hear a breakdown, which is really a solo, a timbale solo, so solo for percussion, but it's written for voices. And you'll hear a solo soprano who takes it on, and she sings paquin, 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 and at one point she goes rolling R's like it's a drum roll. It's really fun, great piece, sung by the wonderful choir Exaudi. This is a group of, I'm not sure if they're 12 or 16, but it's a small chamber choir, fabulous conductor Maria Felicia Perez from Havana, Cuba. So enjoy El Guayaboso. You've got the links for the score as well as a performance. I hope you enjoyed that performance of El Guayaboso. And the next piece I have for you is also from the Caribbean, but in this case via the United States. So the piece is called Dominus Vobiscum, the Lord be with you, and it's written by the Haitian composer Sidney Guillaume. Sidney was born in Haiti and then emigrated to the United States and is now a U.S. citizen and has been in the U.S. for quite some time. So he's a Haitian-American immigrant composer who draws on his own Haitian roots for his music. He particularly draws on the texts of his father, Gabriel. So I'm gonna share a little bit of this text with you. This is written both in Latin and in Haitian Creole, but I'll just read the English translation. Dominus vobiscum, the Lord be with you. The Lord is with us, He is among us, and He is in the depths of our hearts. Amen, Alleluia. Since the beginning of time we have been searching, seeking, asking, when will the light come at last to deliver us? The light of peace, the light of truth, the light of joy, the light of hope, the light of love, the light of life. That's the first half. And this piece is so timely in a way for our time of pandemic now that we are almost certainly in that feeling of wanting something, waiting for something, when this light will appear and lead us out of the current crisis that we're in. And the piece begins this way. It starts with very solemn bass humming. Almost as if it were a slow processional. And then over the top, a baritone soloist comes and he sings Dominus Vobiscum. And imagine him almost as if he were a leader, leading the people who are processing or marching slowly and solemnly from some difficulty. And he's saying to them, God is with you, be not afraid. This music begins to become more rhythmic, and it leads to a climax as we are all saying, when will this come? When will this light of life, when will this be returned to us? And there's a very intense, unresolved chord about halfway through the piece. And then just as there's a moment of silence, you hear a single bass sort of lay down a new idea, and the tenors begin Jodian chante Dominus vobiscum, which means today let us all sing, the Lord is with you. And that is eventually taken up voice to voice to voice, and what was once a solemn procession becomes a joyful Caribbean dance. It's a great piece of music, and I'm so happy to play a recording that I was a part of. This is the Santa Fe Desert Chorale with baritone David Farwig singing Dominus vobiscum. You have the score there as well as the recording, and I hope you enjoy it. The last piece I've got for you in today's a cappella playlist is The Road Home by Stephen Paulus. And of the 5 pieces that I've chosen for today, I think this one might be the most familiar to some, but I would imagine that many might not know it, so I'm happy to introduce you to it. This is a tune on an old Southern Harmony melody. So it's an arrangement of a tune that was originally in the Sacred Harp tradition, and we hear that traditional pentatonic American folk melody, not unlike Amazing Grace or so many of those tunes that are so familiar to us from our tradition. The words are new, and they are by Michael Dennis Brown, and I'll read them to you because really this is a piece about searching for home and searching for belonging, which is so much a part of the choral experience. I love these words. Tell me, where is the road I can call my own, that I left, that I lost so long ago? All these years I have wandered, oh, when will I know? There's a way, there's a road that will lead me home. After wind, after rain, when the dark is done, as I wake from a dream in the gold of day, through the air there's a calling from far away. There's a voice I can hear that will lead me home. And here in the 3rd verse, a soprano solo rises up, and she sings, follow me, come away is the call, with love in your heart as the only song. There is no such beauty as where you belong. Rise up, follow me, I will lead you home. Beautiful words, and a beautiful sentiment for all of us who love community and who love singing together and miss each other so very much. Enjoy the road home. Thanks for listening to this week's playlist, and have a great, great week. I'll look forward to being in touch on Wednesday via my regular note, and then next Monday again, the playlist will be accompanied choral pieces. Happy week, everybody, and enjoy the road home. Again, the Santa Fe Desert Chorale, this time with mezzo-soprano Keely Rhodes as the soloist.